from up there.
I think we're gonna have the bridge down here done by this summer, they were saying.
I heard something, I think it was at the town meeting, they said.
Resume recording. There we go. That's the noise I wanted to hear. Okay, so Max, what I heard was, you delivered a proof of concept, of the glow forge. It's on half inch pine, because that's what fits in the forge. Cedar's a possibility as well, but we have to source it. And pine would probably work with some kind of, coating, linseed oil or polyurethane coating. So those are all possibilities, and you're going to give us a couple samples of signs for pedestrian versus bicycle paths. Did I get it all?
All accurate.
Cool.
The
Okay.
yeah, I don't know what honestly, I didn't look close enough at the existing signage to see what species of wood they were made of. Does anybody know?
I'm thinking cedar for some reason. I don't know for sure. I do know that they're thicker than half inch. They're actually pretty substantial. Although it's, I mean, I'm looked at them from a distance. But it seems like they were inch and a quarter or something. They were pretty thick stock. But you know what? We can take what works and what's readily available at the right price. So
Yeah, they're probably using like a CNC router, so the thickness of the material is almost unlimited. A glow forge, yeah, it just won't go over. I'm assuming it won't. I haven't tried anything thicker. I could try to see what happens when I put 3/4 inch in there. It may reject it and not even function, but I can try.
okay. Neat. And will you be able to do the Glowforge work free of charge to us, or do you need to get compensated or recover some costs related to it?
No, I mean, it's fine. The stuff that I made, it was just I had plenty of pine lying around, and I have some cedar. It's just the pine was easier to get to, and it was easier to plane, so that's what I grabbed. But yeah, no, it doesn't. It's not no charge on anything.
Okay, fantastic. So obviously let us know if we decide we need to get a bunch of signs made, and it looks like you're incurring costs, or you need funds in order to be able to make it work. That's something we would want to know early, and be able to plan for it. So cool. Okay, so I think that takes care of like the things we talked about. Obviously, we're not going to vote on anything without having a forum, but so let's talk about wastewater, and then the trail building process, and then the stuff you're working on.
Okay, so I can talk about wastewater. In early March, we got an email from Stone Environmental, that is the agency that is designing the wastewater system for the town.
Right.
And they were requesting to cut 4 trees down in the community forest to make way for this force main that will be underground. And they knew they would need approval from the land trust and VHCB. Rather than give them approval just to cut 4 trees down, I said, I'd really like to do a full evaluation of the entire project rather than you coming back piecemeal.
Yeah.
And us having to write 18 letters of approval. Let's do it all at once.
Right.
There are provisions in the conservation easement, as you know or should know, that allow for the construction of this wastewater system inside the community forest. And that's the only part of it we're concerned about.
Yeah.
What happens out here is up to the town.
Yeah.
There are conditions that have to be met to get our approval. And there's three types of approval in the easement. One is for any allowed or potentially allowed construction. One is you don't need any approval at all. You automatically have approval in the easement. Another level is you have to give advance notice to NRLT, but you don't have to get anything back from us. You just have to let us know you're going to do something.
Okay.
The third level is you need written approval from NRLT and VHCB.
Mhm.
This wastewater system is at that high level. It requires written approval from both agencies. And the conditions that have to be met are rather simple. The one, provided that the system cannot be located in a more suitable location outside of the community forest. And I know the town went through, a lot of investigations with Stone Environmental that proved that this was the best route for it. It has to be designed by a person who's authorized to do so, certified by a person, installed in compliance with the rules, all of those kind of things. Well, that's what Stone Environmental does. They're the experts. They designed it. They're going to certify it. And then it also has to be done in accordance with the management plan for the forest and the purposes of the conservation easement. Well, the management plan with all of its appendices, is a 218-page document. So you have to kind of go through that and make sure everything lines up. But very clearly, it's mentioned as an allowance in the management plan. It's mentioned as an allowance in the conservation easement. So I wrote up a description of all of this. Stone Environmental provided us with a lot of information along with drawings, engineered drawings of the system and where it'll be located. It will go down this road and turn left into the driveway to the parking lot. Be alongside that driveway. It will stay just to the north of the parking area. All of that's underground. Just north of the parking area, above ground, will be an emergency generator and an electrical control box. Then it goes back underground and up the trail. I don't know the name of the trail, but the one that's right there.
Yeah.
Easy up.
Mhm.
Goes up maybe 100 yards and then turns left and goes up to the school property.
Mhm.
All underground.
Roughly 90 degrees, so straight up the hill, or?
It's sort of at an angle.
Okay.
It's not 90.
Mhm.
The part that goes up the hill to the school is where there were 4 trees that had to be cut.
Mhm.
And you'll see them. The worry thing about this was those trees had to be cut by March 31st because the town got federal grant money for this system. And one of the environmental mitigating factors was all your tree cutting had to be done by the end of March because there might be bats in the trees or birds nesting or whatever.
I mean, I'm glad they're thinking of that kind of stuff.
So we were kind of in a panic. There was March 13th. We were trying to get full approval for the whole system, but it had to all be done by the end of March. And we were lucky. The HCB looked at what we sent them and said, "Hey, this is beautiful. This is exactly what we needed. Go ahead and prepare a letter on our behalf." That's been done. It was sent to Linda Martin, Select Board,
Mhm.
indicating as far as we're concerned, it's done. And according to Stone Environmental, they're going to start work soon. on the project, and we'll have it done by the end of the year, so, or by fall. So what we will do is keep an eye on the project as it's being constructed and photograph it for evidence, and as part of our normal monitoring of the forest. At the end of every year, we have to send a written report to VHCB documenting our visits in the forest to prove to them that everything is in order. No big deal. So we'll go up and take photographs and show how they're doing. I mean, they have to use all of the erosion control efforts so that you don't have soil running off into the wetland. We'll document all that, make everybody happy, and that's it.
Nice.
We're good to go.
Cool.
And you will see the trees that they cut going up the hill. Some of the tops of the trees are on the right-hand side of the trail, some of it's on the left, and there was a little bit of brush sort of left in the trail that somebody might want to rake up. I don't know, just,
There's a good deal of cleanup work to be done.
yeah. So it'll be obvious to you when you see it.
Yeah.
Is there any possibility that like someone like Emily could make an exception so that some trees could be cut during the summer months?
For this project or for any?
For the
For
whole
any.
forest as a whole.
I think you'll have to look at the forestry management plan that she did and see
But-
what that directs you.
If I can interrupt, I think that limitation to cut by March 31st, the cut by March 31st applied only for
That's,
this particular project. It's
that's
not a
correct.
blanket.
That was not our rule.
Yeah.
That was a federal mitigation rule
Okay.
that was put in place. Yeah, that's
Specifically for this project, or specifically
for the sewage treatment. Yes.
not the rest of the.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah, there's nothing in the easement that
Yeah.
requires that at all. That I'm aware of.
Cool.
So I'm glad we got it done.
Fantastic. Yeah, thanks for the work on that.
No problem. That's why we're here. So it's our thing.
Great. So can we talk about the trail?
Yeah. The trail is, in my opinion, an example of an activity that doesn't require approval. Construction of trails is allowed in the conservation area, provided certain things happen.
Mhm.
And let me take you through that. Let me
Okay.
start. Again, you've got this 218-page document that tells you how everything's supposed to be managed and what conditions must apply. And so I spent some time going through that and pulling out the pieces that are germane to building this little addition connecting two trails.
Mhm.
There is a section in the conservation easement that's called permitted uses of the property. And it said grantor, that means the town, shall have the right to make the following uses of the property. One is the right to use all types of non-commercial, non-motorized recreational purposes such as mountain biking. Paragraph 6 under that is the right to construct, repair, improve existing trails and the right to construct, repair, replace, improve new trails. Provided the new trails are consistent with the purposes of the conservation easement and the management plan and section 5 of the conservation easement. So you have to look at what's the purpose of the management plan. The overall objective of the management plan is to ensure that the experience of being within a natural environment remains accessible to current and future residents, guests, etc., while preserving and maintaining the natural character and attributes of the forest. It further says, and this, I think this is important, The Community Forest Stewardship Committee takes the lead role in managing the property. The select board will have ultimate decision-making authority over the property after receiving recommendations from the stewardship committee. Then it offers more specific goals. There's a goal specific to recreation and culture. And that says that goal is to allow for other forms of recreation, such as mountain biking, as may be, and there's a long list, I'm paraphrasing, as may be requested and approved by the stewardship committee. Well, it seems obvious to me that the trail you want to put in it fits within those objectives and goals. Number one, and this is my impression, tell me if I'm wrong. You want this additional trail because it gets hikers off a mountain biking trail. So there's a safety issue. It allows the hikers to have a more pleasant experience within the community forest. That lines up with the goals. I looked at Matt Peters' ecological assessment. There doesn't appear to be anything in the path of the proposed trail like rare species, water courses. We looked at the A&R wetlands. There's no wetlands in that area that you would have to worry about. So there's no concern there. And this is my opinion at this stage. I've not talked to the NRLT board. But I mean, based on all of that, it seems like an easy approval. In fact, to me, it seems like you don't even need our approval. As long as you can determine that it meets these goals and objectives. So the only thing that I think it does need is the select board's approval. I think if this board needs to make a recommendation and get it approved by the select board. My board meets on the 23rd. And I'm going to run all of this by them. And if they have any different feelings about this, I'll let you know immediately. But I don't, at this stage, I don't think they will. There's nothing in this that says you need written approval from us or prior notification. You just have to ensure that it meets those goals and objectives. The only other question I had is, who's going to do the construction? Is this a volunteer effort kind of thing, or?
I would expect a volunteer effort for this.
And I would like to, has it been marked yet?
Hasn't been marked yet.
Okay. Once that's done, I'd like to come up and just walk it and take some photos. Just to have that for the record. The other thing I like, you're talking about a trail that's already in the area with other trails. The board might have some concern just for future reference. If you were to go over to the Bourne property in an area that's kind of remote and maybe you want to leave it alone for nature, and suddenly you came and said, hey, we want to put 16 miles of motorbiking trails in there. I think you reach a level where the board might say, is that really consistent with the purposes and goals of the management plan? I'm not sure where that level is, where the board might say, wait a minute, or have at it. Clearly, this is within the framework of, this is perfectly fine. So
Okay.
I hope that wasn't too much. I hope that was clear enough.
Beautiful. I do have a question for you. You say that this, this trail is in the category that approval is not required.
That's my sense.
And you started with, you said there's 3 categories. So approval required. I'm gonna go in reverse order from what you did. You said, written approval required
Right,
prior to work. Notice required prior to work is a step down, and then no notice even required.
and no proof. So this seems to fit in the lowest,
In the
easiest
lowest
category.
Okay,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And
Always good to keep us informed of what's going on. Just, don't read the easement and start doing things without letting us know.
I feel like, if you'll come to the meetings, as consistently as you have been, you'll be in the know.
Yeah, that's never been a problem.
So, fantastic, cool.
Yeah.
Then we might be moving into some other work that probably fits that same category. So,
Yeah, it does seem to, so glad to see that there's, a process
yeah,
for this and trying not to encourage rogue trail building.
Exactly. That would be a concern.
So that's
Something's going on and you guys don't know about it. That's a big concern.
yeah.
I'll just kind of update or read. So I sent you an 11-page document, but it's mostly photos.
Yeah. Would it be worthwhile? It would take a little bit of doing, but I could get the photos up on one of these big monitors if it's worthwhile. I'd have to log in and so it'd probably take me 5 minutes anyway if futzing around.
It's also not something that I'm planning on starting any sort of work this month. So if you just wanted to share that with people to look at it, that would work too.
Okay. Just before the meeting, I forwarded your email with the document attachment. It looked like it's the documents in Google Drive.
Yeah.
Okay, so you may need to you may get some requests for access permissions. May need to grant permissions and you know what, we can talk afterwards. So
Certainly.
there's a Google group, or another thing is maybe I could download it, put it in the shared drive for this committee, which is publicly accessible. It's security by obscurity, essentially. So if you're fine with that, we could do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was able to get right into it, Gordon.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Yeah, I think I set the settings that anyone with a link can use.
Okay.
Call. So, and like I said, it may be overkill, and it certainly wasn't trying to establish that this is the protocol for submitting a proposal. It was more just a winter boredom and got into the project. But the gist of the project is that there is an established forest road that starts at the corner of the Howland Furland property. That continues all the way east to here, to the Westover property right behind here.
A forest road that gets all the way to the Westover property.
Yep.
Wow, okay.
Yep. I skied it 2 weeks ago.
I'll quiz you more about it afterwards.
So, and I've known my whole life it was there. We used to ski down here from our house or take a snowmobile. My father, during one of the floods when he was the road commissioner and the roads were out, he used that road with a four-wheeler to get to the town garage. So I know the road was there and established, and Bourne's has let us cut firewood on the property. And so we kept the road open to access it for firewood. Since my father moved and we're not cutting firewood there anymore, I think the only person who's ever actually up there using it is me. I ski up. But it is, it's starting to get the problem with blowdowns and a lot of kind of beech saplings growing up in the road. And so the idea was just easier to keep it clean now than let stuff grow up anymore. And then it's just becomes that much more difficult to keep the road open. So that's the basic proposal. And more just seeing it for myself as just an exercise project. So my plan was just to walk up and use hand tools and nothing more than a battery, chainsaws to clear out some of the bigger blowdowns. Just to get some fitness and work on it. And it would only be the section from the Howland Furlong property line to the vast trail. The road from this end up to the vast trail, in pretty good shape. There's blowdowns, but people have logged up here and those roads more recently. And so that section of it is actually more up to date.
Do you go across the, like, we could call it the face, across the steeper slope that's kind of behind, across the river from the village, or do you go like up over the top? Okay. Uh-huh.
That's the no trespassing sign.
Yeah. Well,
Maybe.
this, I mean, the no trespassing sign is on town property at this
That's
point.
what I figured and raised another question I have for the board. But yeah, it connects right straight out back here. And it's due east. It runs due west, right to Elmore Pond Road. So it would just be kind of keeping that section clear by removing some saplings. There is in the proposal an area where there's one tricky area that descends down into a ravine, a brook ravine, and then a steep climb back up out of it that I would consider proposed kind of a reroute of the trail higher up on the ravine, and it doesn't have to cross the brook that's coming down the ravine. And it wouldn't involve any serious clearing of trees at this point, but could establish a trail of, again, just removing.
Do you know what the temperate acidic cliff is in the forest? Are you familiar with that?
Not by that term, but
The ecological protection zone up past McCurney Road, essentially, and if you went up McCurney Road, it's halfway between the river and the back end of the property, the south end of the property. And there is some cliff up there and in a ravine. If that's what you're describing, but
there's some massive ravines over on that side. Yes. This is that big. This one would come down. This ravine would empty out more of the Graves property.
okay, yeah, I think I know what you're talking about then. Kind of, it's a little bit this side of the pond. And
Yes, it's just past the cliff pond.
Yep, okay.
It's just a bit of a tricky navigation.
Yeah.
Coming down a steep hill and it ends right at the brook crossing. So, it's difficult to navigate for recreation uses. There is a passage through the ledge that could get you keeps you at a level, and doesn't involve brook crossing because it crosses above the headwater of the start of the brook. Okay. And so it's kind of a secondary idea that maybe you need to look into more closely because it's not technically an existing trail already. But if done now, would not involve removing anything major. So that's in the proposal as well.
Cool.
However, before we start this, it has occurred to me, and I am wondering about and a little concerned about access to it. Now, Bill Howland has always given me permission to cross his land, but now we're talking for a different purpose and for a different entity.
Yeah.
So I do want to confirm with him, because now all of a sudden the town forest is using Howland's land as a right of way to access maintenance work being done on a town trail.
If you're an agent of the town doing the work, it's different than if you're doing work on your own account. Yeah.
So I'm hesitant to start the work now without getting a confirmation from Bill
What's
the permission to do.
what's the guy's name that you need permission from?
Bill Howell.
Oh, yes. Do you think you could approach him and
If I see him, probably, he doesn't, it's a camp. And he's not here all the time. I can approach him if I catch him.
I asked, my dad knows him as well, and asked my dad for contact info and haven't gotten a response. I haven't followed up either, but we might approach him together in email or something.
it would be fantastic if we could use that right away comes up through Langarians and then go on to Howell's, that logging road you're talking about.
I mean, the simplest one is through Howell's. There's a road right straight, just straight up through. There isn't a road on Frontals. There's a right of way in the lease described, but there's no road left
No, I understand
there, right? But Howell's, it's a full road. Yeah.
There's a road.
Yeah, that goes right to, that connects right to, and then there's pictures of that in the document. It
If
shows you.
somebody could approach this Joe and come up so that eventually we could get a deeded right away through. I'd be willing to donate some money to pay, to give them some money.
So I spent a lot of time wandering around there lately, and it's about the only accessible option. There was talk when the Furlings were here of, okay, well, there's the Tony Smith property now.
That's got so many.
That beaver meadow goes property line to property line.
Yeah.
You're not crossing that with equipment.
It sure does. It sure does. Yeah.
There's the Graves property coming up the Bass Trail. But that is a monster ascent.
Yeah.
The other thing that happened this week is Bobby Langarin, the one that has that house at the end, he died.
No kidding.
Yeah, so he's kind of out of the picture.
I don't know if any of that, did any of that right away go through his little lot though?
Is he the one that's right next to Trevor
His
Court?
sister's land.
Yes.
To get there.
So he's the one that was building the thing that Trevor didn't want to look at.
Oh, really? And he died?
That is a development.
Oh,
Not necessarily for right away reasons, but
Yeah.
that's fine. Yes.
All right.
Oh, no. Just in other words, just take your time, thanks.
so, but you still have to deal with the rest of the leader and Lang, it is Langley too. Dulcie's last name now is Langley. So when they referred to it as the Langley property, that's what they were referring to. I didn't realize that her name had changed, but so she and her sister still own the front end of all that. And there, like I said, there's no existing road there
Right.
at all. And there's certainly not across Furlands.
Yeah, I mean, being able to access it through Bill Howland's place. The problem is that Bill's place is behind, I forget the name now. Yeah, the Russell's place. So you have to cross two other property owners.
But that Jim Russell property right away is an established, I don't know the term, but town right away. If you're accessing Howland's property, anybody has right to go through Russell right away.
So that's a right of way that he has to get to his
I
place.
think, as I always understood it, the Russell right of way is a existing right of way for anyone trying to access any property beyond the Russell.
And that's what we hear from Trevor Court. Right?
Yeah, I think so. Trevor, so Luke said roughly here and raised the interesting point that right of way is a right of way to a property doesn't necessarily convey the right of way to the next property through. Like just because like if you own this property, the landlocked property, and a right of way across the adjacent property to get to it. You can't grant a right of way on your property to the person further through and automatically have,
Right.
mean that conveys right of way
Yeah.
on yours. But sounds like what you're describing is a different scenario, which means the lawyers could probably have a field day arguing over this.
And I think they have
Yeah.
for years when this all went down.
Makes sense. Well, so, a conversation with Alan, sometimes, seems like a good thing to have. I'm,
I mean, I don't know how you feel about like a public
yeah,
road parking spot on his property for public access, but if it's for maintenance.
seems like it'd be great to just have a conversation with him and see how it feels about being a neighbor of the town forest and, see what happens, because the forest management access would be great. The main thing is we want to be friendly with our neighbors.
Yeah, and so, yeah, I certainly, I don't want to involuntarily set off.
Yes, yeah. Cool. I'm interested too in, your description of the road and the trail and stuff, because I've walked around it there and I thought it would be really desirable if we could have a trail that was suitable for hiking. It was, it's a great hike, an afternoon hike or something, to park at the parking lot right out here and wind your way up to the ponds and back. I think it's about 2 miles round trip. And it would be great to have it established.
Yeah, and it's the existing east-west road, and then you got the vast trail west and south road.
That's right. Yeah.
There, just to respond to your wanting to do some work on these trails, it's not, reading the conservation easement, it's not clear if we're talking about trails or roads. But in each case, it really doesn't matter, because there's language in the easement that allows roads to be maintained, improved, relocated, in addition to new roads being constructed. Again, provided they're consistent with the purposes of the grant and the management plan. There is one other consistency that's required, and that is an easy one. It's section 5, and that's the temper to city cliff. No trails, and that's why I asked. No trails, no roads can be anywhere near the temper to city cliff. And that's why we spent, a couple of years ago, we were up there closing off that road trail.
Sure.
But it doesn't sound like you're anywhere near that.
No.
Do you know where that old,
It's on the north border of the property.
you know where that old green truck body is out there?
I'm not, if you're talking over on like this side, this other part of the property, I'm not as familiar with.
Is that anywhere near where you're talking about? No.
No,
Okay.
this is from the Colette Pond straight over to here.
Okay. No problem.
I know where you are.
Well, we're an hour into this, and Gabe said he would be late, but I think giving him an hour for a 2-hour meeting is probably as much as we need. We don't have a quorum to actually conduct any official business.
One more thing. I think we should survey the trails to determine their condition, to see if work needs to be done. And if people should assume they're open up, right after the snow goes, or if there's work left to be done. Or if some of them should be held closed for a certain period.
Yeah.
I think we just have to do a survey.
Yep. Thanks for bringing that up. Actually, it had been on my mind and I forgot. I went out to walk the trails on Saturday morning. You've been driving the roads, the dirt roads in town, right? Trails are about the same. Um, there's a fair amount of, trees falling down over the winter. We'll definitely need to have like a green up day, cleanup day. Probably, first sunny Saturday in probably the last weekend of April, maybe first weekend of May is probably a good time.
Perfect.
What I saw on the trails is that the places where there had been shaping, where they've done work and cleared, and basically, building berms, all this I'll call it excavator art, where they made ground sidewalks through the forest. Those are soft, maybe places need some tune up, a little bit of things like, you know, entryways onto some of the boardwalks, have lost a little bit off on the sides of the trails and stuff like that. And they are, in some places, they're super muddy. The trails that are simply cleared but not shaped are in pretty good shape. I mean, the forest is wet right now. You get your feet wet to walk anywhere, but the trails are, the trails are fine. I wouldn't want to send somebody out there with, bike tires or
Yeah.
anything else on it, but if somebody did go riding them, it wouldn't be a nightmare. As opposed to if somebody went riding on the improved trails, the shaped trails right now, it'd be ruts and it'd be ugly. So to your point, I do think that we need but so I'm reluctant to make a rule and a policy and then have to have enforcement and stuff like that if we don't need to. And then, like make the smallest number of rules that you need. That's my basic approach. So if we start to see any signs of use right now would be abuse. If we see people out there, then we should do something about it. We should definitely say the trails are closed between, snow melt, or trails are closed in April, something. Maybe March and April. I don't want it to stop people from snowshoeing in March. But once things start to melt like they are and we're in mud season, the trails have got to be closed in mud season. Sorry, I'm speaking authoritatively. My opinion is the trails have to be closed in mud season.
Most of the trails that the Green Mountain Club manages, they stay closed. They actually stay closed to the end of May, where they recommend you not use them until the end of May. Of course, they're mostly at much higher altitude.
Yeah, that's what
elevation trails than here.
And anything above 1,500 feet maybe is close to end of May in the town forest, right? Which means none of it.
Yeah.
No, I think we need to stay close in mud season, but I also think that until we get to a point where the trails are much more well-known and heavily used, I don't think we really need to worry about it. I think we do more harm than good by making an announcement and, getting it in people's minds. So.
Yes.
Hey.
Figured better late than never today.
Yeah, thanks. It's good. In fact, just saying a few minutes ago that we're about to adjourn, and then Dave had one more topic. So, you present us with a dilemma, though. Until you got here, we didn't have a quorum. Now we could actually open the meeting and approve last meeting's minutes and stuff like that. I think maybe we just let it slide till next week.
Okay. Yeah, well, you guys have been here a while, so. If you thought you're going home early, that's probably kind of feeling nice, but. I just figured I'd swing in on my way, so
Is there anything you wanted to talk about or anything you want an update on?
really, I am curious, does anyone walk the trails, I guess? I haven't had a chance to yet.
I did, so we were just talking about, I did on Saturday, this last weekend.
Yeah.
It's mud season out there.
Yeah.
And the constructed trails show some signs of wear from the winter. It'll be interesting to see how they do when they dry out. The trails are clear, but didn't have a lot of, that didn't get the sidewalk treatment, are in fine shape. We need to have a work weekend to get people to go out and clear brush and stuff. There's a few trees down across them and stuff like that.
Right. Figured, no. I was just wondering if there's any update from Lee, at all, just along his, the things you've been working on at all.
I haven't, shoot, there was some email traffic on that thread a couple of weeks ago, and it's been quiet. It's certainly been quiet this week and last week as well. It looked like, and I didn't read every email. The impression I got, there was a few days when there was a big flurry of activity in there. It seemed like they were getting things sorted out and they were going to be able to get paperwork submitted to get applications submitted to be able to go forward. I don't believe they were at a place where they would get any, where applications would be approved. I think we're some distance away from hearing about approvals, but I think they got the application submitted.
Good. Yeah. And this would be the application through the state, and I forget I see more of the. Yeah, but is that where, that's the application you're referring to that,
So going off of, so this part of my memory I'm pretty solid with. There were two things. One was a water quality reckoning like FISP or something like that.
that's right.
Yeah, and the other one was through some conservation groups. So remember the two. I think they actually were going to submit both applications, and I know the one part of the discussion thread was a concern that if you take the same project to two different funding sources, you automatically get denied by both. So that we're getting it sorted out to make sure that there wasn't overlap in what they were applying for. So I am about 60% certain that they applied for both grants. I'm about 80% certain that they applied for something. But I could, that 20% is still a big thing.
Yeah, maybe we could get him in here next meeting or something,
Yeah.
if he's available.
Yeah. I think let's see, I got one text message from a friend who's interested in being informed when we have a work weekend or a work day. Other than that, I haven't had a lot of input or inquiries coming to me about anything. Obviously, I haven't been doing a lot of outreach or, publicity or anything like that. It feels like it'd be great to do some and collect volunteers for the trail weekend. I can't promise I'm going to have the time and energy to do it. I certainly love the idea and love to think that I will, but I won't stand in the way of anybody who wants to take the lead on organizing something or generate publicity either. I think it would be really good actually if we can two things. Before you came, we did talk about the fact that Trevor's expressed an interest in being more involved, and so I think we need. I can take on the task to approach the select board and see if either Trevor could replace Mike Green. If Mike's As Mike hasn't been showing up for meetings for most of the year anyway. Seems, so we can reach out to him and verify his lack of ongoing interest, or maybe we can add a seat to the board.
Or I can just keep showing up too, not have to.
Well, it'd be nice to have somebody else to be a vote and pass the minutes and more. Yeah. So, getting a quorum is a nice thing. We tried to keep it, we kept it purposefully to 7 so that wouldn't be so hard to get a quorum. When we were 16, it was definitely harder.
Yeah, well, Mike, I guess there's no official, you don't show up a certain number of times, you're off automatically, don't have anything like that set up, so it's just sort of, but it seems like. Yeah, he's not in it, right? So.
Yeah, he's got other things going on, and the projects. Is clearly interested in making a contribution. Good thing, but
Yeah, he's working on the kiosk, right?
yeah,
So he's doing things. Yes.
yeah. We need to get better. Get signage up on our kiosk and some other things, but I think we need a little more energy coming to the meetings and energy organizing volunteers.
Trevor.
Meanwhile, we'll take, what, if we don't get more energy coming to attend meetings and, volunteer stuff, we still have 730 acres to go walk around in and enjoy, so. It's not like it's not bad.
If you did catch it, the email looks like you forwarded, it was your proposal for the project you brought up last week. Okay, I can check that out. Email.
Cool. Oh, you can listen to the recording also.
Oh, that's true.
Right, we spent 10 minutes or so talking about it.
Nice listening time tomorrow, so. Need a break from pruning.
It looks like you got a truck full of branches.
Yeah. Barely fit it, yeah.
Well, that seems like a good place to stop. I'm gonna stop recording.
Yeah.
So we can hang out and have a party and have coffee. So the next hour we'll go together. Max, anything else before I turn us off?
No, I'll try to get some, I don't know, maybe I can screenshot what I generate and send them out to everybody.
Cool. Fantastic. All right.